Hello everyone. Welcome to the J.R. Stewart Show. I'm your host, D.J.R. Stewart, and I normally don't make these kind of videos. I have a podcast that I do with my co-host, Tommy Debunking, third, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central, called Black Man Speak. But I decided to do this video because I was fascinated to get more information about the Charlie Kirk assassination. And what I found was so much fake information, so much bogus information from all these click whores. Now don't get me wrong. I have a video, I have a online podcast, I have a YouTube channel, a couple other channels. And do we work to get clicks also? Yes. Do we work to get subscribers? Yes. But we don't make up stories. We don't bring on bogus guests, provide bogus information in order to get those subscribers and those clicks. We have some what we call integrity to try to provide truthful information as best we can provide it. And there's so much bogus information on the Charlie Kirk assassination, I just thought I had to tackle some of this. So one of the biggest disappointments, I'm a big fan of Candace Owens. I think she's brilliant. I love her mind. But lately, she's been on this, it's not Tyler Robinson didn't do this, he wasn't on campus. Inside sources say he's never been on the campus before. Of course he's been on the campus. Of course he did this. And I'm not sure why she's so hell-bent. Charlie Kirk was your friend. Why are you so hell-bent on proving that his shooter is innocent? I can only hope that if I was ever charged with capital murder, that all you conspiracy theorists out there, you loons, I hope y'all work this hard to free me if I'm guilty. So let's start with the first thing, the 7,000 tips that came in on the first day and a half, the first 2 days. And guess what? Most of those tips, they haven't even shared the information with the public. And the FBI, for all these conspiracy people talking about the FBI is lying to us, they're covering. Why in the world would the FBI lie to us over this? They have no dog in this race, to quote Jerry Jones. They're just there to help with the investigation. But the FBI is lying to us. Okay, how are they lying to us? Because some of this stuff doesn't add up. Well, I'm going to get to the bottom of all of these supposed lies. 7,000 tips in the first 2 days. And guess what? 99% of those tips all point to one person. You know, you got a few people out there that say it was a second gunshot. There was no second gunshot. That was just an echo. People out there saying, well, the shooter was in tactical gear, implying that this was somehow a military connection or Mossad connection. There was no Israeli connection. There was no Mossad connection. The shooter was just dressed in black with a mask on. In our minds, since we're used to seeing like ICE agents and some other folks in tactical gear dressed in black and a mask, that we associate black clothing with a mask and someone with a rifle as being tactical. It was not. It was just a disguise. The other issue that I'm going to get into, these 7,000 tips, all of them kind of point to one person. Truly, if there was a second gunshot, if there were other people involved, then some of these tips would have been pointing the other way, leading the investigation the other way. You know what's causing the FBI and local investigators from the university, from the city, from the state to the county, up to the feds? You know what's causing them to look at other alternative viewpoints and theories? It's all these crazy theories, because they know that the defense team, which is made of 3 really good lawyers, I can't think of the lady's name that's heading the team up. She has a great deal of experience in capital murder cases. She knows what she's doing based on my research. So, and I know that they're going to bring this up to try to confuse the jury. Well, did you investigate the possibility of a second shooter? If they say no, then there's some doubt. Did you look at the possibility that it wasn't my client who pulled the trigger? Did you entertain the possibility that he's never been on campus, according to some witnesses that we're going to call? You know, and they have to track down, did you investigate the possibility that Israel may have been behind this, and that there was a Mossad agent that triggered the mic to explode. So yes, yes, yes. They got to say yes to all of this. We looked at all of this. We ruled every one of them out. And so they're going to go into detail how they looked at this. And you know what they're doing? All you're doing is tying up man hours. Tying up man hours. You know, keeping them from gathering up other evidence they could gather up. So let's look at some of the evidence. Let me put my notepad out here, my OneNote, because I don't want to miss anything. Okay, move on to, I'm going to segue this into the connection to the weapon. We know that this is Tyler's grandfather's weapon. He said so. And the weapon that we see in the cardboard box is not the actual weapon that he used. That's a picture I think was posted by the New York Times, I believe one of the stock photos. And everyone just took that picture and ran with it. Like, oh, yeah, how in the world, you know, the weapon gets into a cardboard box. It wasn't in a cardboard box. It was wrapped up in a towel. That's how they found it. But since someone posted this bogus picture of a similar weapon, 3006 weapon, in a cardboard box, everybody just ran with it. But he's connected to the weapon because it's his grandfather's weapon. In his text messages, he's concerned that he's going to have to explain, if he can't get the weapon back, to his father and grandfather what happened to the weapon. In addition to that, DNA evidence was found on the weapon. So if he didn't pull the trigger and it's not his DNA, okay, case is almost closed. He has a point that maybe he didn't pull the trigger. But who in the world is going to put themselves in harm's way this way? But I'm going to get my grandfather's weapon and let you go up here and assassinate someone with my DNA on it. This could possibly, well, he says there's no serial number on the weapon, so you don't have to worry about tracing back to him. But somehow you're going to leave your DNA on the weapon, fingerprints on the weapon, partial prints on the weapon. So if you ever got fingerprint in the future, they'll be able to tie you to the crime. Not too smart. The other thing, the bullets. The roommate, the boyfriend, has already cooperated with the cops and ties you to the bullets. That you wrote, he says it was a meme on the bullets. You said so also, that this, the boyfriend said this was a meme to piss off your father. Okay, maybe it was. Maybe that's how it started. But family members have also given statements to the police that you had become very angry. Tyler had become very angry and become very radicalized online. And that they noticed the change. And he was not raised this way. He was raised in a very conservative family. But, you know, but the fact that he was raised this way didn't stop him from becoming radicalized online. Testimony that's given. You've already made the statement. It's going to come up in court how you became very angry. So I'm making statements about Kirk, Charlie Kirk and his lies, supposedly, and his anger tree. The next bit of information. So now you have ties to the gun. We tie you to the bullets. This particular gun holds 4. Unless you have an external magazine chamber, it holds 4 bullets naturally. Some of them hold 6, but this one holds 4. And there is a spent shell in there with 3 other bullets. We already tied you to the bullets. We know that's your handwriting. You wrote on the bullets. And there's a shell in the rifle, which means the rifle was fired. And for all these people out there saying, well, you know, when he was arrested and tested for gunfire, there was no evidence. And you know what, people? Give me a break. He already had time to go home, be with his boyfriend, to shower, wash his hands, get cleaned up, all that good stuff before he decided to turn himself in. How long do you think this gunpowder residue from an ancient rifle like this is going to last? Not very long. If you had caught him as he was trying to stage the weapon right after the shooting, you may have got the evidence that he had just fired a weapon. But after being able to go home and get cleaned up, ain't no telling how much bleach, alcohol, Mr. Cleaner and put on himself, especially with his boyfriend there to help him. There's no telling how much evidence he washed off. But the fact that it wasn't there doesn't surprise me. By the time he turns himself in, they actually test him to see if he fired a weapon. Let me check my notes. What's the other claim here? Of course, I already said the mother identified him as the shooter. That's how this whole thing started. Outside of him deciding to kill Charlie Kirk, the mother identified him as the shooter. She's the one who started this process. I think the father may have agreed. They reached out to him, asking him, "Hey, was that you? Did you do this?" And now Ken Zone is saying, well, the father is now, there was false information that they put out there that the father identified him. No, it wasn't the father who identified him, Candace. It was the mother who identified him. And I guess the father may have initially gone along. Maybe the father had to change his heart. It doesn't matter. But the father and a friend of the family who was a deputy sheriff, or maybe retired deputy sheriff, are the ones who talked him into turning himself in. Rather than have SWAT and a bunch of police come out to the house, chasing you down, possibly something go wrong, rather than have someone come out to the house and be trigger happy, and something happens, and gunfire explodes, it's best to just turn yourself in and be safe. Keep everybody else safe. You, your family, your boyfriend. Okay, fine. I think another report that Candace reported was that the boyfriend's family owns the building, and they're claiming they never saw him there. So this whole story that maybe he's gay or he's involved with a person who's trying to transition to a woman may not be true. No, it is true. Tyler and the roommate were dating each other. So, and I'm going to tell you why that's important a little bit later. But the mother is the one who first identified him. The father may have agreed with her. But anyway, they talk him into coming in. He kind of confesses to them. And then they talk him into turning himself in. So now he's arrested and he turned himself in. He goes through the booking and the whole work. That's how that came about. And let me see, what was my next topic that I wrote down? DNA evidence found on the weapon. This ties into the weapon. DNA evidence found in the position where the gunshot was taken. This tied him to that position. DNA evidence ties him to the side of the building where he jumped down with the weapon wrapped up in a towel. They have his skin prints, the handprints there on the side of the building. And you know what? The way you have to slide down with the weapon, I'm pretty sure he left some skin there. A little bit of skin, microscopic, but whatever skin he left there, they found it. Because they didn't say just prints, they said DNA evidence, tying us to the killer, the shooter, the person on that building. So we have him at the shooting site where the shot was taken, on the side of the building where the video captured him, scuttling down the building, carrying something. He places it down with two hands. He didn't just drop it, because if he had just dropped it, the towel may have come loose, blown in the wind or something, and then the weapon is clearly visible at that point. No, he placed it down with two hands, and he lowered himself down, grabbed the weapon, fell to the ground. As he's making his escape, he's keeping the weapon wrapped up in a black towel, close to his body as possible. And then he gets to a site. He can't make it to the car. There's too many people around. So he parks in a very bad spot. So he goes behind these houses where he first made his entry towards the university. He goes behind them. There's a wooded area. He plants the gun. He changes his clothes so he can blend in. And if he could have just grabbed the gun at that point and walked to his car, he would have. Because like he said in the text message, if he could have grabbed the gun and brought it, put it in the car, trunk of his car, and went home, case closed. He could have took this to his grave. But he didn't. He left the weapon there. Not only did he leave the weapon there on site with his DNA on it, he left the screwdriver that he needed to assemble the gun on top of the building. Now, I've seen these so-called experts, these snipers, all these gun experts, saying that, JR, he couldn't have disassembled the weapon, put it in his book sack in time. He did not. He wrapped the gun up in a towel. Well, it takes a while to assemble. No, it doesn't take it's a stock in the barrel. He didn't take the gun completely apart. He just took enough of it apart, the stock in the barrel, to put the stock on one side on his arm and the barrel with the scope on the other side slid down his pants. That's why he was walking funny to there. It was wrapped up in the towel. He's carrying it with two hands. Then he's carrying it on the side of his pants leg with one hand, and he tips his hat. I don't know what that's about. Maybe he was signaling somebody. But if he was signaling somebody, then tell us who you were signaling. You can cooperate and maybe get your sentence reduced to life in prison with no parole, which is eventually what's going to happen. This guy is not going to the firing squad or the gas chamber. I think they give you a choice in Utah. And so he's not going to choose either one of them. He will eventually cop a deal for life in prison, no parole, for several life sentences with no parole. So he leaves the gun there, hidden in the bushes. He sticks around for hours. The shooting happens around 12:20, between 12:20, 12:23, and it's 6:30. You're still in the area. This lets him know that he's trying to stick around, like his text message said, till things die down. We can go back and get the weapon, and maybe if you can go back in the dark when they call the search off, and everybody's going to just come back the next day when it's daylight, he knows exactly where the weapon is. He will go to the bush, grab the weapon on the cover of night, put it in the car, drive home, case closed as far as he's concerned. And then it's the text messages themselves. People are like, oh, these text messages are staged. Nobody writes that way. He's 22 years old. It's just too neat that he's confessing everything. I'm going to tell you why he's confessing. For Candace and the rest of the lefty loons out there, the crackpot theorists with the tinfoil hats, I'm going to tell you all why he wrote the messages the way he did. It wasn't the FBI. It wasn't Israeli. It wasn't Mossad. There was no exploding. I think they said, if you look at the video, JR, the microphone. The microphone has a very powerful magnet, a little round magnet that sits on the back side of it. That's how it clips on. You're going to tell me this microphone explodes on the outside of his shirt, but it somehow sends shrapnel on the bullet on the left side of his neck, and somehow this right here never showed indication of explosion. Oh, JR, the shirt rose up. I'm going to get to that in a second too as to why the shirt rose up. That's what I'm going to conclude with. But we have the DNA evidence. We have him on top of the building. We have him tied to the gun. We have him tied to the bullets. We have him scaling the building. He's writing the text message to his boyfriend. Here's why he wrote the messages, pretty much detailing exactly what he did, and confessed, did you do this? Yes. Because some hatred just can't be tolerated and negotiated away. But that's not why he killed Charlie Kirk. He killed Charlie Kirk. That may have been part of the motivation, but he did it to show his boyfriend just how much I love him. He was bragging at this point. He was being very braggadocious at this point on how he did it. He wanted to show his boyfriend, one, he's a pretty smart kid, straight A student in school. I know something about being smart and being braggadocious, because I'm a very smart person. I had an IQ the last time I was tested of 168, which is genius level. Okay, enough of bragging on myself. But anyway, people who are very smart like that love to tell other people and show them, demonstrate how smart they are. I would do it all the time in social settings. A person would like to debate me, argue with me about something, and I would cut them down, just rip them to shreds. That's just how much of a great debater I was, using the intelligence and knowledge I had to just cut through their argument. This is exactly what he was doing. He was bragging on himself. This is why he went into detail. But it wasn't too smart to be sending clear text messages to your boyfriend, to your lover. And then you left a note behind, you tell him to destroy the note, but you took a picture of the note. That's how much he loved you. You tell him to destroy this thread, he didn't. And then it wouldn't matter if he did destroy it. The phone will come use half the thread. You can easily go and find out what phone service you use, subpoenaing them. They will gladly turn this information over. So it wasn't too smart sending text messages confessing. And this had nothing to do with the FBI. This is on him. He sent the text messages. He left the DNA. He left the screwdriver behind. Oh, JR, he wouldn't have had time to disassemble it. He didn't disassemble the damn weapon and put it in his backpack. He carried it with him to where he staged it. It was always by his side until he got behind the woods and where he staged it in the woods. He did all of this. All of the evidence is pointing to him. And then there's a timestamp. Oh my God. Oh, Gerald, the CCTV's timestamp don't match up with the cell phone footage. No, it does not, Sherlock. No shit, Sherlock. Let me tell you something about being in IT and setting up some of these CCTVs. Every one that I set up, I've only done 2 installs. But the 2 installs I did, the CCTV servers and storage were not connected to the client's network. They were not. When I installed the software, set the cameras up, tied everything into a multiplexer that took all these pictures, stored the video, had the sensors on there, stored video at the right time when there was movement. Anyway, once all that was set up, guess what I had to do? I had to set the time, the software up. In the software setup, it's asking me for a date. I punch in a date. It asks me for a time. I look at my watch. It's around this time. That's what I punch in. Is that going to be synced in with my cell phone? No. Your cell phone is part of a network. Every company, cell phone company, doesn't matter if it's AT&T, Verizon, a cellular network, Orange, it doesn't matter. All the cell phone companies from around the world are tied to almost a single source for timing. Most of them get their timing off the government NST servers. That's where they get the feed from. They tell them precisely what time it is. This is what they all sync to. This is why if you go to your computer, you hook up to the internet, doesn't matter who your internet provider is, and take your cell phone, put them side by side, put the clock there from your cell phone, and watch the clock on your computer, and watch them be in sync when every time the time changes. They are in sync. So if you're comparing a footage from a cell phone to cell phone, you can match it up because that's in sync. Matching CCTV footage to a cell phone is not the same. There's no telling what time. You could be off by several minutes, a minute. Like your JR, the CCTV footage timestamp doesn't match up. This is 2 minutes different. Yeah, because the person who put the time in looked at their watch and approximated the time. That's why the damn time is not meant to be an exact time. If you want an exact time, you hook it up to the network, which most companies don't want to do because they don't want the video hacked. They want to be able to preserve the evidence. They want someone hacking into their video server and erasing the video, especially if the video captured a crime happened. So you normally isolate. If it connects up to a network, maybe a storage area network, just upload the video and then disconnect. But you cannot count and trust the date or the time on a CCTV server because this date and time is approximated. And then now let's get to the $64,000 question. What about the rise of his shirt and the bullet going into his neck? The surgeon said the bullet was just under the skin. Evidently broke the artery and he bled out. Said Charlie Kirk died fairly quickly. Okay, let me get to the bottom of that. Charlie Kirk's wife insisted when he started getting death threats that he wear a bulletproof vest. People say, oh no, JR, he couldn't have a vest on that day because you could see his nipples. It wasn't a chest plate like you normally see on law enforcement in dignitary. It covers the full chest. Now that's bulky, but you can tell the person's wearing it. His plate only covers center mass of his chest. This is most likely if you're going to get shot. So the nipples off to the side and just outside the plate. So you can still see that. But the plate is kind of covering center mass. When the shot was taken, either he was aiming for the head and the bullet ended up going down to the left. I'm sorry, this is my left. Down and to the left. This is probably going to be the left of your video. But down and to the left. Or he was aiming center mass and the bullet rose and went to the left. It doesn't matter. Either way, he was aiming either for the head or he was aiming for the chest. And the bullet kind of veered off, maybe because the weapon wasn't dope or set up for his body. Maybe when he pulled the trigger, he jerked just a little bit, or he didn't have the proper breathing. If he took a breath and pull the trigger as he's taking the breath, the weapon will move a little bit. So, but from 130 yards, it's very forgiving. From 500 yards, 1,000 yards, that little movement would have been enough for the bullet to totally miss the target. It wouldn't even hit the body, not even the shoulders, nowhere. It would have been totally off at those distances. But from 100 yards, you kind of get away with bad shooting techniques a little bit. You're not going to hit center mass, you're not going to hit the person squarely between the eyes, but you will be able to hit their body enough to cause some damage. Chances are, if Charlie Kirk wasn't wearing that plate, he would have survived the shooting. The bullet would have hit him in the shoulder, and it would have went straight through. A .30-06 round, it went straight through. You'd have been looking for that bullet, either somebody standing behind them, or you would have been digging out the wall. It would have went straight through the tent. It would have went through the tent, and you probably would have fallen in the ground if it didn't hit anybody. But because he had the plate, and the bullet didn't hit center mass, either in the head or the chest, the bullet itself hit the plate. All the kinetic energy, people are like, well, JR, 30-06 round would have gone, 30-06 round would have gone through the flesh. You know, I use a 30 or 30-06 to shoot big game. And I shot them in the shoulder blade, and the bullet went straight through, hitting bone in it. Okay, that's true. I'm not doubting that. That is true. It's a very powerful round, very fast, very high velocity round. But when the round hits the bulletproof vest, just right there at the tip, the kinetic energy is transferred from the round to the vest. And so the vest is now pushed in, and because you have a chest here, the kinetic energy, the path of least resistance, not necessarily inward, is also because of the curvature of the chest, it's going to push that plate up a little bit. That's why the shirt rises up under the shirt. Not exploding mic, not anything else. The pressure from the plate pushing in and upward, the neck forward, put pressure on the neck. So that's why whatever he had in his ear or whatever chain he was wearing, that chain was not one of those that hangs down to the middle of your chest. It was one that was pearly, right there on the chest, and you can, right above the plate. So when the plate was pushing in, pushing up, he's pushing in on his neck and everything else. So you see the shirt rise up, you see his neck, muscles and fluids and stuff around his flesh kind of expands a little bit. And then guess what else you see? You see the entry wound right after that. People are like, well, JR, it had to be from the back, and then this was an exit wound. Because you see, as the shirt rises up, his neck expands, and then there's an exit wound. No, just the reverse. Kinetic pressure, energy is transferred from the bullet to the plate, pushes it up, and then you get an exit wound from the ricochet. That's why the bullet stopped, not because he was Superman, like the press reported. And it had nothing to do with it. I don't care how strong your neck muscles are. You can do all the neck muscles you want, and shoulder lifts, and everything else. If he hit you in the neck with a 30-06 round from 130 yards, it's going through your neck, it's going through your body, period. But because this was right up under the skin and you bled out because your artery is right, main artery is there, suggests that most of the kinetic energy was transferred to something else. It was transferred to the plate. I hope that this is enough information for all you tinfoil hat lefty loons out there in Canada. I am so disappointed that you continue to entertain these crackpot theories of hopefully people are feeding this to you and it's not really yours. And but I'm going to say this, I hope you're not just doing this for clicks. I hope that you're sincere in believing the stuff that you're putting out there. At least, but it's still, I'm going to tell you, you're still a lunatic with these theories. Keep blaming the FBI is not beneficial to helping your friend. We know who did the shooting. It's not JFK with the lone bullet theory and the magic bullet theory and Oswald. Okay, it's not the case. From the grassy knoll, we know pretty much in that case it was a conspiracy. It was probably most likely done by the mob, and the fatal shot probably did come from the grassy knoll. Okay, we settled that for the JFK shooting. But this shooting, yeah, Tyler Robinson did the shooting. Most of the evidence points to him. The little evidence that's not pointing to him are from a few French people out there claiming it was the second shot, the bullet came from the front, the microphone exploded. You can see the Israeli Mossad agent doing something, detonating. You know what? To detonate something on his shirt as small as a magnet, boy, that would be some technology for your ass. I mean, really, that would take miniature. You have to put the remote in there, the explosive in there, and be strong enough from a magnet to hold it all in place and not catch anyone's attention. That little magnet is the size of a quarter, maybe less. And you're going to do all of that in a quarter size. Now, he's used to putting this microphone on, so this thing has a weight and feel about the same as it always felt. Because if you put all this stuff and pack it in that little small space and make it heavier, somebody may get to examine it, looking at it too closely, and you may be found out. And on top of that, look, Israeli Mossad will not be caught, agent be caught on camera that way. Professional killers will not be leaving screwdrivers behind, leaving a weapon behind, leaving DNA evidence, laying all over the place. It wouldn't happen. This shows just how much of an amateur this person was. And on top of that, for all these bullet experts and snipers and shooters you bring out, talking about this is such an impossible, wasn't an impossible shot. I promise you, I bet $100 bill to your $1. Everybody in the Marine Corps, from the lowest private all the way up to the general, everybody in the Marine Corps can shoot from 130 yards. They're fairly competent. It hits center mass. Hits center mass 8 out of 10 times. That is not an impossible shot. And then you add a scope to it, a 4-time scope. You know, in the Marine Corps, you just looking out the rifle with a metal tip at the end of the M16. You add a scope to the M16 or any rifle that he has, his 30-06 rifle. Man, that's a 10 out of 10 for everybody in the Marine Corps. I don't care what your MOS is. Security, embassy duty, cook, you can be the groundskeeper, it doesn't matter. Combat pilot, administrator, everybody in the Marine Corps without fail. You can't even get in the Marine Corps if you can't make that shot. You got to be at least a basic marksman. Basic marksman means that you're competent from 100 yards to 150 yards. And if you're not competent from that distance, I guarantee you they boot you out. You don't get in because you're smart. You don't get in because you're a fast runner. You don't get in because you're good with a knife. You get in because they have some basic qualifications that you absolutely have to meet without apology. You can't pass their physical fitness test, guess what? I don't care how good a marksman you are, how good you are with hand-to-hand combat, I don't care how good you are with a pistol. You're not getting in. And if you can't shoot from 100 to 150 yards, you are not getting in. So everybody in the Marine Corps, top to bottom, I don't care what your job is, can make that shot. It's not an impossible shot. And all these loons are coming on Facebook and YouTube claiming. So anyway, I hope this clears up all the misconception and all the misinformation that's out there. This is going to be, pretty much going to be a slam dunk. The investigators are going to do their job. They continue to investigate. Here the FBI is saying they're running down every theory. It's just tying up man hours, but they're going to do it. It's not that they believe in the theories. That's not what they believe in. People are reporting, well, the FBI is accepting that there may be a conspiracy, accepting that there may be another shooters, accepting that there may, no, that's not what they're doing. They're not accepting any of it. They have their man. They're running down all these crackpot, tinfoil wet hat theories in order so when they get on a stand and Tyler Robinson's defense team begin to question them. Well, did you rule out a second shooter? Did you rule out another gun? Did you rule out the exploding mic? Did you rule this out, rule that out? Did you rule out that he didn't have time to disassemble the weapon and then pack it in the backpack and then make it there on time? Okay, did you rule all this out? And they have to be able to say, yes, we looked at all this, we investigated all of this and ruled it out. And explain how they went about the investigation and how they ruled it out. Just so they don't confuse, because the defense team is going to be trying to sow as much doubt into the jury. And if you had Candace Owens and some of these other tinfoil red hat people on that jury pool, Tyler will be innocent and back at home with his lover the next day. So let's just hope that the people that they selected for the jury pool are open-minded and fair. That's all you can ask. Look at the evidence, examine it. Look at the preponderance of the evidence. They're going to bring in some witnesses who say they heard a second shot. They're going to bring in some witnesses and say from their vantage point, this is a military person, this is a military shot. They're going to bring in some snipers who gave statements. All this shot is so impossible. You have to be a professional shooter or a military, a former military to make that shot. That's not the case. So anyway, I hope this clears up the misconception that are put out there by the click whores, which I'm not saying I'm not a click whore myself, but I don't lie to get clicks and subscribers on my show, which is Black Man Speak, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. And so I'm thinking about adding a daily show outside of Black Man Speak called the J.R. Stewart Show and do a daily commentary on the latest news. I'll see how this one go and see whether we do one tomorrow. Anyway, you guys take care. I'm out, and I either see you tomorrow or I'll see you until the next time something gets under my skin and I decide to do a debunking video. Bye.